Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by with yet another Crystal Lake series news video. Turns out on Friday, January 13th, there was a screening of Friday the 13th Part 3 somewhere in California, probably Hollywood area, I would imagine, and I guess there was a Q&A session after the film or before the film or sometime at the screening with some of the people behind the upcoming Crystal Lake series. So there were some questions asked and answered, and these questions have appeared on Friday the 13th franchise.com. So I thought I'd stop on by and share these new Crystal Lake series developments with all you Friday the 13th fans. Looking at the page on Friday the 13th franchise.com, turns out the Crystal Lake showrunner Bryan Fuller was in attendance and answered some questions during a Q&A session. As you can see here, the first bit of info here is writing begins in 2 weeks, and writers were in attendance at the screening. Second little blurb here is exciting but kind of confusing at the same time. There will be 2 scores for the show to choose from. The classic Harry Manfredini score and a new score. That information is a little bit confusing. It seems to me like, I don't know if that means they're going to use the already recorded Harry Manfredini music for the films, or if they're going to have Harry do some new music in the old vein of the old Harry Manfredini music. Obviously, it goes without saying, prefer the Harry Manfredini music, whether it's the old stuff just recycled or him doing new stuff that sounds like the old stuff. Honestly, if this is a series that takes place between like present day and showing back and forth and going all over different times, I mean, you could use both. You could use new music for the contemporary scenes and the old Harry Manfredini music for the scenes that take place in the past. But it'll be interesting to see what develops out of this news. Third bit of news here is Scream writer Kevin Williamson will be writing an episode. Honestly, I don't really care one way or another about this, but as we all know, Kevin Williamson's a big Friday the 13th fan, or at least he's a big enough fan of the first film to know that Jason was not the killer. So I guess it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table with a Crystal Lake episode. This is probably the coolest bit of news for me. Adrienne King will have a recurring role in the show. This little bit of news kind of hints towards what the show might be, very much with like other shows going on at this time. It'll probably be a show that takes place all over the place, maybe in time-wise, like maybe contemporary, then flashback to different decades. Honestly, that's probably the best way to go with the series instead of having it take place in one time frame. Obviously, if Adrienne King's going to be in the show, obviously there's some current day contemporary scenes, either that or they're going to de-age her, which I wouldn't think would happen. Honestly, from the more I hear about this, the more it sounds like kind of like with the success of the recent Halloween trilogy, or at least the first 2 films of the recent Halloween trilogy, and catching up with the final girl 40 years on, obviously they're going to take that same stance, the same approach, which I have no problem with. It'd really be cool as a huge Friday the 13th fan, and the first film being my favorite of the franchise. It'd really be cool to see Adrienne King back reprising her role as Alice, and if one asks, well, how the hell can they do that if she got killed in the beginning of the second film? Well, it's just like, well, maybe, I mean, it could simply make her dying at the beginning of the second film a dream. I guess that wouldn't really work because her corpse is in Jason's shack at the end of Friday the 13th Part 2. So actually, the more I think about it out and talk about it out loud, the more I do wonder actually how the hell they're going to have Adrienne King a part of the series after all. So this will be interesting to see how they make this happen. Maybe it's a twin sister. And the last bit of new info here is Bryan Fuller pitched 4 seasons, and just 1 season has been ordered so far. I want to say the last video I did said something about like there's like some kind of penalty if they don't do 2 seasons or something like that. So maybe I don't know who gets penalized. I can't remember. You're gonna have to check out that video, that Crystal Lake news video for that. The last video I did, there's something about that where like, I don't know, something about like, oh, 1 season is in greenlit, but if they don't do 2 seasons, there's some kind of penalty. I don't know. It was really a stupid freaking plot point if you watch that video. Or not a plot point, but information or news snippet or whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm so used to reviewing movies, everything even in the real world is a plot point to me, but that little bit of information was kind of confusing and still is confusing to me. Like, okay, we'll do a series, and you know, you're greenlit on one season, and there's going to be a penalty if you don't do a second season or some crap. Like I say, you have to check out that video to remember or to see what I'm talking about, or I'll even have to look at it to remember what the hell the plot point or the detail of that detail was. But anyway, you know, I'm going to try. I'm going to try in my, you know, to the best of my ability to keep up on the Crystal Lake series news and keep you guys updated on, if you're not following Friday the 13th franchise.com. Starting to write in 2 weeks. It makes you wonder how long it'll take to actually get, you know, an episode up on good old Peacock. Is it going to happen within the year? Hopefully, just actually see this thing come to fruition and end up happening. Will they have Harry Manfredini back to do new music? The thing is, though, you know, that even if he were coming back to do new music, it doesn't really excite me that much, because he's, you know, long time ago, even back frickin' 30 years ago with Jason Goes to Hell, he's long since entered primarily, from what I can tell, into the, you know, electronic music synthesizer arena. So it's just, I still find it so ironic that when he was starting out, he was actually making music, I guess what I'd call more real music, with instruments and, you know, actually organic and whatever you want to call it, analog music with instruments. And then the more established he becomes, then he just, you know, relies on, you know, keyboards and synthesizers or whatever the hell he uses now. So honestly, even if he was going to do new music for the series, I don't think I'd even be as excited about that as I would be for just using the old stuff in the series. But you know, the thing that would really be cool is if somehow he could do new music and record it in a way that was like the original music from the first 4 or 5 films, or hell, even the first 6 films, with actual instruments and all these kind of things, and using whatever he used to make all those really cool Friday the 13th sounds, you know, cling, 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 chang, 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 you know, all that kind of stuff. So in regards to the music, obviously, if it's taking place all over, you know, time and different decades, my thing is, why do you got to choose from, you know, one of 2 music options? You can do both of them. You know, new music for contemporary times and the old classic stuff for decades past. So anyway, this video went on a little longer than I anticipated, but anything Friday the 13th, a lot of times you can be sure that I'll just be blabbing and blabbing and blabbing. As always, please feel free to let me know what you think of this ongoing news down in the comments. Are you excited for Crystal Lake series? Are you not? Why and why not? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.